Good morning and welcome to the Shinchoku webinar on dashboards and sustainability. My name is Angela Hulshout. I'm one of the founders of Shinchoku, and today I'm going to guide you through dashboards and sustainability in the way that we look at those things from a Shinchoku perspective. Something that we've been working on for the past year and that we continue working on this year. And hopefully we'll see some of you in your factories to discuss what this could mean for you. I'm going to briefly talk you through what dashboards are, how we see them in relation to sustainability, what type of information would you want to display there, and most importantly, where do you get that? We'll also have a look at why there are no generic dashboard solutions, and I'll briefly look ahead to our next webinar, which will be about building a dashboard live, and another one that may come after that, where we actually look at what can we do to add or combine sustainability with OEE metrics. Now, first of all, let's have a look at the dashboard. I think most people have a dashboard in their car. This is an example of a dashboard that you could have in a factory, where you collect all kinds of data and display information based on that from your manufacturing process. In this case, we're looking at an example that I stole from the internet. Or borrowed, I should say, probably. It's a dashboard that shows defect rates, scrap rates, and up and down time of equipment in a production line. These are typically metrics that people use or that people display and analyze to judge the efficiency and the effectiveness of their production lines. And it's a common practice to have something like this in an MES system or as a separate tool in a factory. And with this one, for example, people can monitor the amount of products produced versus the amount that is actually correct, or versus the amount that has a defect or that is completely scrapped. And they can also have a look at the availability of their equipment. All of this, of course, is data that you can extract out of machineries, digital controllers, any system that's around in a factory. The big thing with the dashboard is that you use it to visualize the information that you're actually interested in over a period of a day, in real time, or over a longer period. Now, what can you display there? You can display trends, you can display KPIs, operational effectiveness, OEE, for example. It all depends on who you are and what you actually want to display. And that brings me to what do you use it for? If you look at what we use data for in manufacturing, what we use data for in combination with dashboards, we have to look at the continuous improvement cycle that we take as a starting point for everything that we do in our work. And that's depicted here. What you see is that in every factory, in every production facility, there are quite a few data sources. Data sources could be the ERP system, the MES system, but also the sensors that you have in a factory, the sensors that are built into the machinery, and the controllers that run the machinery. And what we do in order to help factories improve is say, okay, information about what you're doing is in your data sources. Information about what you could change to improve your process, to become more efficient, more sustainable, faster, whatever you want, starts with that data. So what we do is we gather that data by connecting everything to a network, as depicted here with that little router, and store the data in a centralized data store. Now we're going to do a webinar in the future about how we do that storage part, but for now it's sufficient to know that it's there. That data that we store can be fed then into dashboards, which is what we're talking about today, to display what is going on in your factory and how it's supposed to work versus how it's actually working. We can visualize that. That is something that you can use to analyze what am I doing today and where should I probably change something. If you want to do it over a longer period of time, we can also run the data through analysis tools. And here we also tied that to AI as an example of the type of tool that you could use. But you could also dump it into a spreadsheet and do some standard statistical analysis. Either way, having all the data from all the sources available makes it possible to visualize it and makes it possible to analyze it. From the analysis and from the visualization, follow ideas on how we can change the process in order to improve in whatever direction we want. And those improvements lead to changes in the process, changes in the equipment that are fed back into the production process, and that hopefully show results that once again show up in the data sources. This way we build a continuous improvement loop, and the dashboards that we're talking about today are part of the analysis and visualization part of that loop. Now, if we zoom out, oops, I lost my thingies there for a second. If we look at sustainability, we say, what do you want to display? What are you interested in? Well, today we're talking about dashboards for sustainability. So we look at sustainability metrics. These are sustainability metrics taken from an article that we will reference in the description that comes with the video of this webinar. But what you see is that just like with effectiveness and with everything that you want to measure, also with sustainability, there are a number of areas for which you can measure things in a production environment. The most obvious area there is the improvement of resource utilization across the board. So all kinds of resources that we use, water, energy, materials, equipment, and there are metrics defined for how much water do you consume, how much of that is, for example, if you look further down the list, is recycled water, how much material do you use, how much material can you save, and as you can see, depending on the symbol that's behind them, these are typically things that if you want to become more sustainable, you should either decrease, which is a minus, or increase, which is a plus. Of course, this is at the core because that's really the material that you use and that you produce in your production system. But as a side effect of that, there are also emissions. CO2 is a hot topic the past years, just like nitrogen. Those are things that you can measure, and the ones that are harmful for the environment, for the people, for nature, you probably want to decrease. We also see minuses there. Sustainability in a business also relates to competitiveness in the market. At some point, people are looking for sustainable manufacturers, so they will get your products if you show that you're more sustainable. But that means that you have to invest, that you have to do something about your product quality also in terms of sustainability, the times that you deliver it, and so on. So then you have the resources, you have the market. You also have to look at keeping your costs low, and that will increase your margin so that you can actually make money for keeping your business alive, but also maybe for investing in future sustainability. So cost reduction and increasing financial benefits as a result of that are, of course, also part of what you can measure. And since we said the emissions already, there's also waste in a similar fashion. And then another angle to look at it is sustainability also relates to the people using your product, the people working in your factories, the people working close to your factories, living there. So customers, workers, people living close by. There are also things that we can measure and optimize probably in that area around the manufacturing facility as well. So all of these are sustainability related metrics, and at some point you'll have to figure out which are the ones that I start with. What am I going to visualize on my dashboard? The coming period, will be focusing on the consumption of water, energy, and material. But at some point, we will also make a move into the other areas to show that these consumption metrics affect everything else in this figure. The big question then, of course, is if you want to show these things, where do you get the data? Where do I get information about how much water, how much energy I consume? Now, maybe you have power meters, maybe you have your stock information, but maybe you also want to look at things that you can gather directly from your equipment, from your machinery. And for example, this is a demo environment that I took a photo of on a desk. We could have a PLC or another type of controller running our factory, where we get data from and bring it straight to our computers. That's the easy bit. But what happens, for example, if the scrap that you're using is not monitored, or at least not documented anywhere? The only indication that you have that it's there is a pile of waste in the backyard of your factory. Now, in that case, you may have to put something in place that helps you measure or monitor the scrap that you have first before you can digitalize it and visualize it in a dashboard. A simple example of that, one time we did a project for a factory where people were actually checking small pieces of metal that came out of a cutting machine. Some were okay, some were defective, and there would be an operator there moving the correct ones to the left and the defective ones to the right, or the other way around. In cases like that, you can put in a simple detection mechanism with an inductive or capacitive sensor, for example, that simply counts how many products come by during the course of a minute, a day, an hour, whatever level you want to measure. These are simple things that we can add, even if things are not monitored in a digital system. And something similar applies if you have something like an old analog machine like this saw, for example. It's completely analog. All it has is a power connection and a cable. And if you want to know what this thing does and how it contributes to your energy consumption, then you may need to do something else. You can look at the power meter for the whole factory, but there's no individual power meter for this one. But that is something that can simply be added by installing a power meter on the cable, or putting a magnetic field sensor around the cable, so that you can detect, is the machine switched on or off. If it's switched on, it will use a little bit of energy, so you see a low current. If it's in full operation, you'll see a high current because it's using a lot of energy. And that way you can collect data there from a simple sensor or a simple accelerometer that you add, and bring it into your digital system so that you can put it on your dashboard as well. So even in a fully or partly analog environment, we can do something to bring things to your dashboard. And that leads us to the type of dashboard that we are creating here. This is the dashboard that we will be creating live in the next webinar. In this case, we're looking at a dashboard where we keep track of stock levels and material consumption. That's what I was talking about before. And what you see is that while we produce, the amount of stock materials goes down, while the amount of produced product goes up. Since we don't want to throw things away, and that's the waste part of the sustainability equation, we have a look at products that are produced versus products that are rejected because they are defective. Over time, we can even see trends there around 12 and around 8 when people are having lunch or having dinner. We see that the amount of correct products is the same as in the rest of the day, but the amount of defective products goes down. Now that's an interesting one, because if everything is produced by machines, what does it mean that the defective products are not visible here? Is that because the people are not tampering with the machines at those periods because they're out for lunch or dinner? Or is it because they are simply not checking the quality at those times because they are not there? That would have an interesting impact on how much product you actually discard and how much material you waste, but also how many defective products actually end up with customers. And so that goes across all the areas of the metrics overview that I just showed you. You can also have a total number of rejected products, just like on the other dashboard that I showed you. But we can also look at things like power consumption. And power consumption in this case could mean that we monitor per machine, and every color reflects a machine, how much power is used throughout the day. It could also mean that the different lines refer to different energy sources. So it could be gas, it could be electricity, it could be renewable energy, for instance, from our solar panels, or heat that we convert into electricity if we have a heating system like an oven or an energy production unit. And this way we can have a look at, okay, how much power do we consume throughout the day? Maybe we can map that to production numbers or to material usage or to the production times that we have in our schedule. We can have an overview of the total energy consumption that we have. And based on the material usage and the energy usage, we can have a look at how much does our production cost? How many products do we produce? What is the cost per product, or the total cost for the whole production? And what is the cost of the products that we have to scrap because they are rejected? And in a similar fashion as the electricity graph, we can also get an overview of the material consumption and losses, so that all of this supports the production overview. it's a quick overview of what you can do with a dashboard and where the data can come from. And we can go into that a lot deeper in future editions, and we will when we are building the dashboard. Because when we are going to build a dashboard live next time, we will have a look at, okay, what are we going to display? Where are we going to get that data? Which data is available in digital form? Which data has to come from analog additions? And analog can be anything from measuring power, like I explained before, to the point where people are simply counting on a piece of paper what is happening and then putting it in a database so that we can display it on the dashboard in different forms and after doing some recalculations and so on. Now, the reason that I mentioned earlier that there is no generic solution for dashboards is basically rooted in the fact that every factory uses different kinds of systems. There can be analog systems, can be digital systems, can also be systems from different vendors with different interfaces, with different forms of information storage. So if you want to put things in a dashboard, you need to do something to get all that data into a location and a format that works for the dashboard. And there is no dashboard that literally supports everything out of the box, simply because there are too many different possibilities and too many different systems. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about, and that's a hint also towards the two future sessions that I announced. Once you have a dashboard in place, what we see is that a lot of places these things are used to measure the efficiency of production and the effectiveness of production, which is translated into OEE, the operational equipment efficiency or effectiveness, which is typically a multiplication of 3 percentages. We have the percentage of availability, which is a metric for how much of the time that I actually have equipment and I actually have people working in my factory. How much of that time are they actually available for production? Simple example, if I do everything by hand and I have 10 employees and they are available 8 hours out of every 24, so a normal working day, their availability on a 24/7 basis would be around 1/3, 8 hours out of every day, maybe also on the weekend. So we would have an availability of 32%. If we have a fully automated factory that runs completely autonomously, like the big factories that people are building in China, for example, right now, the availability could very well be close to 100% because the machines are there all the time. They're switched on all the time. The only times that they are not available is when there is a problem, because every machine has a failure every once in a while. Every production line has a failure every once in a while. And at some point, machines also need to go down for maintenance, but you could get availabilities of, for example, 95% on an annual basis. Then we have the performance. If a machine is working correctly, it could have a performance of 100%, but in practice, it will be less than that, simply because at some point the machine needs more material or there is some time involved that machine is not working optimally because of lack of maintenance or because of the problems that we mentioned in terms of availability before. So it could very well be that the performance is 80%. And then the quality is a percentage for the amount of products that are actually produced 100% correct. Funny thing there is that these factors influence each other indirectly, and that becomes visible when you multiply them with each other. If I have an availability of 80%, people could say, "Oh, that's a pity. We're not running optimally with the machines and the people that we have, and we can't do anything about the machines. But let's have the people work a bit harder." Then the people work a bit harder, and they pick up things manually that cannot be done by the machines that are not available. So that performance goes close to 100%, maybe even over 100%. But because they do things by hand, they are less accurate than the machines, so the quality may actually go down as a result of that. That's why we keep these three metrics separate, but we also multiply them with each other to get an overall view of the effectiveness. And that shows that working harder doesn't always improve the quality. If we look at, we'll make that more visible in the examples that we're going to build in the live dashboard next time as well. But if we want to also look at sustainability, then the big question is, where is sustainability? Where is my material consumption? Where is the savings that I do on being more accurate in my production? It's not available, or it's not available, it's not visible in the OEE formula, because sustainability is not necessarily related to availability. Performance in terms of productiveness, being available to produce versus how much do you actually work on production, is not covering everything in sustainability, and neither does the quality. So what we're investigating right now is also how can we replace or extend the OEE formula so that also sustainability is taken into account. And if you do the simple multiplication version, we could add a percentage for sustainability and then say, okay, we're working very hard, our availability is high and our quality is high, but we waste a lot of material, we waste a lot of energy, so our sustainability is low. So our operational equipment effectiveness and say sustainability metric would go down because of the sustainability impact. However, if we look at this, where is it? This diagram that we started with earlier, then you see that it's not so easy to put one metric on sustainability. And we're going to improve the industrial sustainability performance. That is the metric that I'm talking about here. But the input for that metric is 12, 20, 30, almost 50 parameters. So putting it in 1% is not going to be an easy solution. So one of the things that we're aiming at this year is also finding a way to put sustainability into an OEE-like equation so that we can combine it with the effectiveness measurements that we traditionally already use in manufacturing. So yeah, that's basically what I had to say about dashboards, what we're working on and why we think they are important. It's an overview, it's quite high level, and that's why next time we're just going to jump into building a dashboard live, and hopefully we can have some, right now we don't have a Q&A session because it's just an introduction, but next time we also hope to be able to answer questions from the participants, from you, while we're building the dashboard so that we can actually incorporate questions from real interested people and real stakeholders into building the dashboard. And the same applies for getting towards the sustainability version of the OEE metric. So with that, I would like to conclude this first Shinchoku webinar. I invite you to visit us live next time. And all the webinars, this one, but also future ones, will become available on our YouTube channel, which we will announce on our LinkedIn page. In the meantime, and here I have to type a little bit, if you want to know more before that next session, what you can do is contact us, and I hope this works. No, this doesn't work. You can contact us at info@shinchoku.eu, or just give me a call on my international number, +31 for the Netherlands, 625319743. If you want to know more before our next video comes, just contact us through these channels. Thank you very much, and see you next time on the second Shinchoku webinar. Bye bye.